When people talk about investing in cities like Manchester, Leeds or Birmingham, they often focus on house prices, but they rarely ask an equally important question. What types of property are actually being bought? Are investors buying flats? Are families buying semi-detached homes? Or are detached houses still dominating the market? Today we're looking at millions of land registry transactions to find out exactly what people are buying across 7 major UK cities. At first glance this looks complicated, but once you understand it, it's actually one of the easiest charts to read. On the left hand side there are 7 cities: Birmingham, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle, Nottingham and Sheffield. On the right hand side there are 4 property types: detached, semi-detached, terraced and flat. Each colour represents a different city. For example, blue is Birmingham, orange is Leeds, green is Liverpool and red is Manchester. The colours don't indicate performance or price, they simply help you follow each city's flow across the diagram. What does the ribbon width mean? This is the important part. So the thicker the ribbon, the more the sales. So thick ribbons mean lots of transactions. Thin ribbons mean relatively few. What can we learn? One thing becomes obvious immediately. Across almost every city, terraced and semi-detached homes dominate sales. Detached houses are a much smaller share. That's exactly what we'd expect in older northern cities, where terraced housing was built in huge numbers during the Industrial Revolution. Flats vary much more. Manchester has a substantial flow into flats. Leeds also has a healthy number, Liverpool less so. Newcastle and Sheffield have comparatively smaller flat markets. Already we can see that each city has its own housing mix. This chart compares the 4 property types nationally. Let's decode it. So the x-axis represents the average selling price. The further right, the more expensive the average property. Y-axis is total sales. Higher means more transactions. Bubble size represents the total value. In other words, the total amount of money spent buying that property type. Bigger bubbles represent a much larger share of the housing market by value. Bubble colour. Each colour simply identifies a property type. So what stands out? Detached homes are by far the most expensive. Their average selling price is close to £500,000. But notice something interesting. Detached houses don't have the highest number of sales. Terraced homes actually record the largest number of transactions. Semi-detached properties are close behind. Flats are cheaper than detached homes, but still account for a huge number of sales. This tells us something important. If the UK's housing market isn't driven by expensive detached houses, it's driven by the enormous number of terraces and semi-detached homes changing hands every year. This graph lets us compare every city with every property type. Each column is one city, each row is one property type. The darker the square, the larger the percentage of sales for that property in that city. Lighter colours indicate a smaller share. The larger the square, the greater the property's share of sales in that city. So both colour and size reinforce the same message. What do we notice? Terraced housing is particularly dominant in Liverpool. Semi-detached homes are extremely popular in Nottingham and Sheffield. And detached homes remain a relatively small proportion across every city. Meanwhile, flats become much more significant in Manchester compared with several of the other cities. This chart makes it easy to compare cities side by side. Rather than looking at total sales, we're looking at each city's housing mix. This is probably the most interesting graph in the video because it combines 4 different dimensions. On the y-axis, each row represents one city. X-axis, average selling price. Further right means more expensive. Bubble size represents the number of sales for that particular property within that city. Large bubbles indicate property types that dominate local transactions. With regards to bubble colours, blue is detached, orange is flat, green is semi-detached, red is terraced. Again, the colours simply identify the property types. What does it show? Detached properties are consistently the most expensive in every city. That's expected. Flats usually appear much further left. They're generally the cheapest category. Terraced homes often have the largest bubbles. That means they account for a huge proportion of transactions, especially in Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham. Semi-detached homes also play a major role across 7 cities. Overall, this chart shows that every city has its own balance between affordability, housing stock and buyer demand. So what have we learned? Although these cities often compete for property investment, they're actually very different markets. Some are dominated by terraces, others see much stronger demand for flats. Detached homes remain the premium end of the market, but they make up a relatively small share of the overall transactions. Understanding what people actually buy is just as important as knowing the average prices, because behind every average house price, there's a different mix of homes changing hands. If you enjoyed this data-driven analysis of the UK housing market, then please subscribe to the channel. Every chart you see here is built directly from millions of land registry transactions using SQL and data visualization tools, giving us a picture of the market based on evidence rather than headlines.